So ever since I started my YouTube channel, a lot of people have reached out to me and asked me what kind of camera I use, what kind of video editing software I use. And usually when it's people that are just starting out and just want some advice, typically what I tell them is you don't necessarily need very expensive equipment to start out. Not trying to put anyone down, just trying to tell people if you're just starting out and you don't know how to use a DSLR camera or you don't know how to use higher end video editing software, it's actually gonna do you a disservice when you're starting out. So typically what I like to tell people is there's a lot of ways of creating videos, great quality videos, by just following simple steps, and that's what I'm gonna go over in this video. And with that being said, guys, today we're gonna be talking about how to get started on YouTube and creating a channel when you have a very low budget or no money at all. So let's get started. The main thing you should focus on when you're filming yourself is your content. Content is gonna outweigh video editing and video quality every single time. What people are searching for are answers. What people are searching for is knowledge. And if you can provide that and you provide good quality content, it's gonna solve all your problems with any video editing or any equipment that you may have. So if you can focus on those things, you're gonna have a great quality video and you're gonna attract much more subscribers. But let's talk about some tips that I typically recommend to people when they're filming themselves. So I usually tell people these 3 tips when they're filming themselves. Number 1 is follow the rule of thirds. Now, the rule of thirds is a very common rule that is incorporated in photography and in film. Pretty much what it is framing your shot so that the subject matter is balanced in the frame of your shot. So the way you do that is try to avoid having the shot too close to your subject, and typically the subject is gonna be you. You don't want the shot to be too close to your face. You don't want your head cut off or too much headroom. You want it to be nice and centered. You wanna have enough headroom where it feels comfortable. What I would suggest you do is frame your camera, take a couple photos of that shot, and then see if it makes sense where you framed it. Sometimes you might have to just record the video depending on your camera so you can get the exact framing. So typically that's what I do. I just set up the camera, I record myself a couple times, take a couple test shots just to make sure that I have my framing right and that I follow the rule of thirds so that everything is symmetrical and that there isn't anything that's gonna distract people based on the way that I framed my shot. Now, the second thing I would suggest is find your lighting. A lot of people may be worried that they have to spend a lot of money on different lighting equipment, but if you're just starting out, what you can do is find a well-lit room or find a window. If you can find a nice well-lit window, you can get a lot of natural light in, and that's gonna help make your video appear much better. What you don't want to have is a very dim lit room, or you don't want to have too much sun at a certain angle that's going to give you harsh shadows on your face or harsh shadows where you can't really see certain things that are in the frame of the shot. So you want to make things as even lit as possible so that everything is easier when it comes to editing and everything is easier to see when you see it either on your desktop or on your mobile phone, which a lot of people are watching your YouTube videos on. Now, lastly, and this is kind of a pet peeve, but I honestly think it's the most important piece when it comes to videos, especially educational or videos that have a lot of conversation in them, is audio. Audio is something that a lot of people miss when they're editing video or when they're filming themselves. And if you have any budget, any money at all, I would suggest that's where you first start spending your money. If you already have a smartphone, you can already film yourself. But typically, the audio that you're gonna get from your phone, especially if it's put far away, it's not gonna be the best quality audio, especially also if you're outdoors. So having a microphone or having good audio editing software, that's definitely something that's gonna take you steps ahead and give you a much better quality video that people can then listen to and understand what you're saying. Now let's talk about some equipment when you're just starting out. Now, the first thing you're gonna be thinking about while I'm filming, the first thing I gotta get is a camera. And actually, Casey Neistat, if you don't know him, he's a very popular YouTuber and he actually gives a lot of insight on how to film yourself and film vlogs. He's actually said something, I don't know the exact words, but he did allude to that the future is gonna be on smartphones. And the better you get at filming yourself with a smartphone, the faster you're gonna get to what the trend is gonna be. And smartphones are getting better and better by the minute, by the day. And using your smartphone nowadays is just as good as using a DSLR for the most part. A DSLR is going to give you some advantages, and a lot of times it's kind of a combo because then you can use it for photography and it's going to give you some very high quality photos if you know how to use it correctly. But if you're just starting out, you've never used a DSLR before, it's actually better that you use an iPhone or a smartphone that you have, because you can maneuver that better than what you're gonna do with a DSLR. You're gonna have to learn a brand new system. You're gonna have to learn all different types of things like aperture, shutter speed, and some very complicated features of your camera that may take you longer to film yourself and then disrupt your workflow. What you wanna do is be consistent, be able to film yourself and get these things done fast. So not investing in a camera and saving that money for other equipment that I'm gonna mention right now might be a better move when you're starting out. So the next thing is the part that I was mentioning earlier that I think is the most important. I would invest in a mic, number one. If you can invest in a microphone, that's gonna make your video quality significantly better. So if you see right here, I actually have a lavalier mic. And this lavalier microphone can attach to my phone, and I can have that recording while I film myself with a camera. I actually use, and I didn't mention this earlier, I actually use a Sony A6500 for the most part. Actually, today I'm filming with a different camera. It's a first generation Sony A7. But a lot of times I film with my phone, and my phone is a Google Pixel 2. I'm not an iPhone guy. Sorry, I'm an Android guy. I know. Either way, it's a good camera. I love my phone, and iPhones are just as good. They have great cameras, and you can film with that. But as I was mentioning, microphones. The lavalier mic is great for travel. It's very small. You can connect it to your phone and record, and it's very useful when you're outdoors, and it frees your hands to be able to use your hands for anything else, whether you're holding up your own camera or you're showing something as you're speaking. Another mic that you can purchase if you have a little bit more funds and a little bit more room to purchase things is a condenser mic. Now, this condenser mic is great for filming indoors and when you're having videos much like the one I'm filming right now, where you're actually having more of a conversation, and it's gonna give you much more rich audio. It's gonna capture more frequencies than what you would get in a lavalier mic. A lavalier mic is great when you're outdoors because it's gonna be a little bit closer to you and it's gonna filter out some of the background noise that you're gonna get. Trust me, if you wanna test this out, film yourself outdoors when it's windy and when there's cars driving by without any microphone. Then try one with a lavalier. It's gonna change everything. So definitely, if you have any money, I would suggest using that budget towards a microphone when you're first starting out. Another thing I would advise that you purchase when you're just starting out is a tripod, specifically a travel tripod. Those are typically more affordable than something like a film grade tripod. Tripods can range from any price point. They can go from $10 all the way up to thousands of dollars, depending on what the function is. The ones that I'm talking about, and you can look into this, is called a Joby or a GorillaPod. Those are the ones with the flexible legs that you can put on any surface and are great for travel because they can fit in your backpack. So I would definitely look into those. I'm actually gonna include all the products that I'm talking about in my blog post, which I'll include a link in the description below. So guys, definitely follow the link in my description to follow the blog post and read more about the products and the equipment that I'm gonna be listing out in this video. But with that being said, a tripod is definitely very useful when you're filming. I would definitely suggest, if you have any budget or room in your budget for it, is to purchase something like a GorillaPod or a Joby. That's gonna be useful when you're filming. Now, the next thing I would suggest you invest in, and this is just for organizational purposes, is an external hard drive. Now, I have a Lacy, and this is a 2 terabyte hard drive. It's actually got a little bit of waterproof in it, and as you can tell, it has some rubber padding so that it can deal with some of the ruggedness that comes with traveling and keeping it in your backpack. This one's gonna be a little bit more expensive. It can range between $150 to $300, but if you have a lower budget, there are definitely much more affordable hard drives out there. Really, the benefit that you're gonna get from having an external hard drive is it's not gonna take up space from your computer, which allows your workflow to be better on your computer when you're editing your videos. And also for organizational purposes, you can keep all your video files in one spot, and you can have a backup of your video files saved on your external hard drive. So it's definitely a good resource to have. If you don't have one already, definitely something that you can invest in when you're starting out. Now, lastly, and this is a part that I definitely want you guys to get started on the right foot. If you have an Apple computer, like I have, it usually comes with iMovie installed. Therefore, if you can get started with an iPhone or a smartphone and you have an Apple computer. You don't have to spend on two very expensive things, which are a camera and video editing software. iMovie is great. It's a great starting point, and it's actually very, very similar to Final Cut Pro, which is a higher end video editing software. It's actually gonna be a stepping stone. If you learn how to master iMovie, you can then move into Final Cut Pro very seamlessly and start editing your videos once you have the funds to invest in it. I use Final Cut Pro to edit my videos, and I actually learned a few tricks when I was editing with iMovie when I was first starting out. So it's definitely a great product for you to use. But if you have a Windows computer, or if you want to edit with a different video editing software, there are hundreds of different websites that provide free video editing software for you to test out and for you to use for editing your videos, which I'll include some of the links in the blog post that I mentioned. It'll be in the description link below. So definitely go check that out. And with that being said, guys, those are the things that I would advise you get. Those are the things that I would advise you do when you're starting out your YouTube channel. So if you found this video useful, make sure you like the video and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can continue to watch more videos just like this. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you guys on the next video.